Peace, love and light to you all, family. Welcome to another YouTube video with me, your host, Mathix Mahlangu. Now today we're getting into another movie. We're getting into my favorite genre of movies, animation movies. Guys, bukelana mapopai. Watch cartoons. The profoundness that you find in cartoons is just, it's mind-blowing. It's pervertedly spanking to the soul. Just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So today the movie that we're going to be looking at is Inside Out. This is a very beautiful, it's a Disney movie. It's a beautiful Disney movie, and I think it's one of the most profound movies that I've ever watched. Yeah. Because this movie is actually so profound. And I was making the notes for it, and it's how many pages? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got like 5 pages, but I'm gonna try and summarize it so we can get it in. So without wasting time, we're gonna get into the movie. So when the movie begins, and I said in the last movie that I was decoding that whenever you watch movies, understand that it's something, you're not just watching something for the mere fact of just saying, I watched that, and then you can feel good and be entertained. Don't watch these movies for entertainment, because then you are entertaining. It's entertainment. Your mind is being trained to just, consume. You have to decode, because you must understand that the people who are giving you these movies are learned people. They are people who have studied African spirituality, African history, world history, which all world history is African history. It's just one people who have just split throughout the times, and they gave mythological stories throughout the time via oral stories, via parables, via scrolls, in many ways. So these stories that we are seeing here are just a later manifestation. So when you learn about Thor, when you're watching Marvel movies, you are learning about entities such as Shango. All these entities that you see in Marvel, you can find them in African spirituality or in African mythological stories. So hence I say, don't be entrained or entertained. Observe and learn, read. So now the movie starts out with this voice or this person saying that, do you ever look at someone and wonder what's going on in their head? I do that all the time. Like, you just look at people like, what's going on in there? There's a whole universe inside a person. They say that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We are created in the image of God, and the image is the imagination. So what is happening within us is what God is imagining of itself to be when it is you. Ooh, that sounds poetic, ne? All right, it's okay. So in everyone's head is a whole universe happening in there. A whole universe of emotions. So now, when the movie begins, by the way, don't forget to like and to subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Tell them to subscribe, but don't just subscribe just because. I want you to subscribe when you're really interested in such information. Don't just come here because, hey, sometimes it gets heavy. So now, when the movie starts, we get introduced to two worlds. Immediately we see that there's an inner world and there's an outer world. And the first being that we meet in the outer world is this character, or the main character, called Riley. We meet the main character called Riley because she's also an entity unto herself. She's the avatar that we will be following throughout the movie. So we meet her, and then we also meet her parents. So the outer, I want you to understand the outer to be the world of effects. That's number one. That's what you get. The outer is the world of effects, because the first being you meet is where it's in the inner. It's in the inner, and then we're going to get to know who this entity is. So now, the inner is the causal planes. What happens inside of us is what causes the effects that happen outside. So all our actions outside, whether we are angry, sad, happy, anxious, fearful, hopeful, all of these things are a result of what happens in the outside. So we get introduced to two worlds, the inner world and the outer world. So we meet Riley and we meet her parents. And the first being we meet inside of her is this particular character who discovers a pad, or this control pad. And then as she touches it, she begins to understand that, hey man, something happens here. And that is, there are particular memories or particular things that happen in terms of memory as this entity which is outside, which is called Riley, grows. So as Riley grows, there are memories that get stored in her mind, or in whatever this place is that we're gonna find out what it is as I explain. So she sees the first memory when they say, oh, my little bundle of joy. Her parents say that, and then like this entity discovers this particular memory. So we could call this entity Joy's primary, Riley's primary state or primary emotion, which is joy. Happiness, because that's what you came here to this earth to be happy, to explore the vast universe that God brought you here to explore. So now she discovers that, Joy discovers that, oh my God, there's memories and things here going on. All right, so now what I want to tell you about, first of all, is that we ourselves are memory. Everything, we are a collection of memory, individual memory, everything that has happened to us, and we are also a collection of collective memory, genealogy. We are a collection of generational memory, heredity, memory passed down to you through your ancestry. Your mom, your dad, your mom's mom and your mom's dad, your dad's mom and your dad's mom, and so on and so on. 7 generations back, and even 100 generations back, depending on the level of your soul vibration. You can tap into any of those and recall those memories. But that's deep. This movie doesn't get into that depth, but it gets into only the personal, just this memory. I'm telling you that there's also ancestral memory, which is where we get generational curses and generational blessings. So it goes deeper. But this movie was just giving you a glimpse, a kiss, it was just kissing you like, and it's just the surface. But you have to go even deeper. Because everything you see in movies, it can only give you a glimpse. Because come on, it's 2 hours, it's 1 hour 30 minutes, and it's 90 minutes, whatever how long the movie is. You live a life of 70 years. So can you imagine the amount of things that you have stored in you? Come on. Tanukama, you're very naughty, thinking that you're not amazing. Bam, boom. So as Riley grows, she learns that she has certain memories inside of her. Not memories, or certain emotions that control the thought field. Because that control center is the conscious mind, it's the thought realm. And the thoughts and emotions interact. The emotions are what deal, or what basically give direction to the thoughts. So there are 2 things happening. There's masculine energy and feminine energy here. You have 2 elements on both sides of the masculine and feminine, which make 4 elements. So 2 elements, fire and air, are masculine. So those deal with thought and passion and action. And then 2 are feminine. Those are earth and water. Those deal with emotion and basically the physical body, the action of things. All right. So now we're going to get into this. Let's see it. So now, as she's growing, she's learning that, okay, there's certain emotions that govern certain thoughts. So thoughts and emotions are basically realms within themselves. They are realms. Whereas thoughts are quick, but emotions stay longer. Emotions are more powerful. So that's why when they say, when you think about something or who you want to be or what you want to be, if you add the emotion to it, it'll manifest faster because the emotion is much more powerful. It is water, it is earth, it is grounded. Whereas the thought is fire and air, it's like a cloud. But if you want that cloud to really solidify, you gotta add the feminine aspect to it. So this movie is very deep. So now, Joy the primary emotion which we meet explains something very important. She says that there's something called core memories, and these particular core memories power a different aspect of Riley's personality. So basically, we are our memories. Different personality traits that we have are due to our memory. Some good, some bad. So certain traumatic things that happen to you that might give you post-traumatic disorder, or like some good things. When you see certain things, you just have certain good feelings, or when you in certain emotions you just feel bad because something bad once happened when you were a kid. It's due to the memory. So we are nothing but a collection of memories. This is all a memory. It's a dream. This is happening in the mind. The first law that they speak about in ancient Hermetic teachings, ancient African teachings in Hermetica, the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, is the law of mentalism, which says that all is mind and everything in the universe is mental. So this is, right now, I'm giving you a memory, and depending on how much this is resonating as you are watching this, it'll either be a short-term memory. By the time you sleep, you're like, oh, I watched that guy's YouTube video, very interesting. Or it can hit a deeper part of you, and you can store it inside of you as a long-term memory that you might even remember it 10 years from now. You're like, hey man, that's 10 years ago. So it's a long-term memory. So this is how this happens. When you learn in high school or in varsity about short-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals, that also happens in memory. You have those short-term memory, medium-term memory, and long-term memory. This is what we are learning here. We are memory. Me and you are a story. Memory. We are God. Let's go on. Rips. So Joy explained something about core memories. All right, I spoke about that. All right. So now we see a very important scene here where we see the first day, and they show that after a day, memories get stored in long term. So they're like, all right, let's put these in long term memory. So each day, like every day that something happens, every day you experience, when you sleep, those memories get stored into the long term memory. Long term memory, because you have different states of sleep that I speak about in a different YouTube video that you should I just forgot what I named it. I'll find it and I'll put it in description, where I speak about the alpha, beta, delta, and states, the different states of sleep, the different states. I think it's the dream video. So in these states, memory gets stored. When you are sleeping, you store and you process memories. This is what happens here. So after a day, the memories get stored in long-term memory, which is basically the subconscious mind. The part of you that doesn't even remember that you remember certain things. All right. So now we go on here. Okay, so what we see in the movie is that, so when they move, we get to see how the emotions and thoughts. All right, so the movie gets to a part where this character called Riley's family is moving, and then we get to see how the emotions all interact together. Some, like, a part of her is nervous, a part of her is fearful, a part of her is excited, a part of her, so we get to see how personality, our characters are affected by the inner worlds that happen within us. So now something happens in Riley's inner world. The inner emotions begin to be at conflict, and those emotions that are beginning to be at conflict is basically sadness and joy, because she's moving into a state in her life. Also watch my chakra videos where I explain the different ages, where at the root chakra age, you are you only focusing on a certain aspect, and in the sacral chakra you begin to tap into puberty, which is what they show at the end of the movie when they were like, hey, what's this? And then they show a big red button they call puberty. So at each stage of our life, the inner emotions and thoughts get rearranged, they break down, and then they get rebuilt, as we will see along as the movie goes. So now conflict and joy are basically, joy and sadness are in conflict here. Because Joy wants to always be happy, and she doesn't want to let sadness express herself, because she doesn't know that, hey, this is a necessary part, which we'll also see. So now Joy has to learn a certain lesson about sadness. So now the two emotions are vital because they represent a yin and a yang. We also see how dreams, then they show us how dreams also work when Riley falls asleep. So you basically get projections from the subconscious mind, things that happen during the day that get replayed. It gets deeper than that, because some of y'all are shamans and seers. Y'all can even tap into things that have not even happened yet, not just things that have happened today. Some of you can see things from past lives. Some of you can see things from future lives, because understand that in the realm of the subconscious mind, time and space don't exist. There is no time-space continuum like how we see it here in this third density. So we meet all the particular, or we rather see all the things that happen in the mind, like a train of thought, how that happens, how a train of thought comes into someone's mind. They show us all those particular aspects. So now as Riley starts a new day in this new school, she basically goes to school, and then we are seeing how she's going through a major shift in her life. Hence the inner emotions are going through this turmoil, especially sadness, because a part of her is sad that her old life is leaving, but it's not being allowed to express that yet, because she's still a child coming into those teenager years. So this happens to all of us as we grow. There's certain stages. Even when you're old and you have to start a new job, all those feelings of anxiety. Oh my God, I hope the person I sit next to, these are the emotions inside of her. I hope the person I sit next to, I hope my boss is cool. And then that part of you that's excited. What if I meet someone amazing? That's joy. And then we meet how we met all these different entities within her: joy, sadness, anger. Those are the primary entities that we were introduced to: joy, fear, anger, and disgust. But there's obviously more emotions within all of us. So that happens to us every day, especially when major things happen, like you're about to go for an interview or you're about to experience something new. So let's see. So now, as she's going through this particular change in her life, sadness is the most dominant emotion, but it's not allowed to be expressed. It's not allowed to be expressed. And when we see sadness touching the core memories and them changing, that lets you know that memories are not fixed, or the past can also be changed. So you can take a past memory that was sad and add joy to it. That's another thing. Or you can take a past memory that was happy and add sadness to it. So the past is not fixed. You can travel back in time in your mind to re-strengthen yourself in situations where you felt weak, where you were hurt, or you can change that as the new developed you. You can go visit the inner child in you and heal those particular parts of yourself that were not able to stand up for themselves in the past. That part of you that did not have the strength to say, no, don't touch me. That part of you that was able to stand up to that bull. You can do that in your mind, because it's all happening in your mind. Even though it happens physically, we said that the physical world is the world of effects. The outside is the inside is the cause. So you can go inside and change the cause, and the effects don't have to affect you that much. So this movie is very deep. It's not fixed. You can change it. So now she's having this whole breakdown, and so now joy and sadness, as that is happening, they disappear into the subconscious mind because of the whole core memories getting shut down, that whole scenario there happening. And then what's also interesting now, this scene, I liked it, they also show us the mother's inner personalities and the father. So that whole thing happens where they show us the mother's own emotions also going back and forth, and then the father. That's a very interesting scene there. So boom. So now we're gonna jump on here. Okay, that part though, okay. So after that, a core memory. Okay, so now we start seeing her basically fall apart, and this happens when they get absorbed into that realm where a core memory of that whole play, it's called Goofy Ball Island. So her core memories as a child begin to fall apart. The core memories that she made as a child are beginning to fall apart, and at first joy and all these emotions inside of her, they don't understand. They don't understand that sometimes sadness and confusion and not understanding what's happening is vital, it's important. So that happens in there. So now joy and sadness go to explore the subconscious mind. Basically, they are walking around within the convolutions of the brain. Those passages and memory places that we are seeing, those represent the different convolutions of the mind and the neurons and all of that. So inside of her mind, we meet workers of the brain which represent certain neurons. Just as I'll give you an example. When you see someone yawn, usually most people also yawn too. You know what does that? You know, I know some of y'all yawned right now. Some of y'all probably you didn't, because like you're just that energetic. But sometimes if you're tired and you see someone yawn, you're gonna yawn too. That's called a mimic neuron. There's neurons in your brain that mimic behavior. That's their function. So you have different neurons inside of you that are specifically tasked to do certain things. So when we are meeting the different workers, those are showing the different neurons or the different workers in the brain that are doing certain activities, hence just as the ones that are clearing out memories. So those just represent that's what they're showing here. So let's see here. Boom. Okay, so as this is happening, different things begin to happen. She basically loses also at the same time Friendship Island. She's losing Friendship Island, and she also learned that I almost forgot this part. She also learned that those random things that you just remember, like a random song or a random thing that from way back, you're like, why do I remember this? There's certain neurons that are just like sending things to your conscious mind that you're like, what? Why do I still remember this? Just like that irritating song that was happening when they were showing us here when she was talking to her friend. And she just sings this random song from her past, from like way back then. So these particular things begin to happen. And even as she's talking to her friend, she gets angry, and then that core memory of her friend falls apart because she's shedding the old. Where she lived represented the old, and now she must create the new. So now that whole thing happened, and then we meet a character in her mind, in her inner worlds, called Bing Bong. And then Bing Bong represents an imaginary friend that she created when she was young. And this basically just lets you know also that when you see kids and they are playing with imaginary friends and it feels as if they are seeing things, it's not that what they are seeing is not there. It's not that what they are seeing is not there. It's the fact that they are tapping into a different level of their eye because they are fresh out of the spiritual realm. So they can see entities that you cannot see as you grow up because certain things have shut down. It's not that sometimes everything shutting down is good. Sometimes we shut down and forget parts of ourselves that are important, that connect us to the spiritual realm so that we can, go work a 9 to 5 and be serious in the world. Sometimes some things you shouldn't forget. That's the thing. Some things you shouldn't forget. So Bing Bong represents that part, that imaginary friend. And as they show it here in the scene, you can see that she actually saw Bing Bong in certain parts when they were playing together. It was a real entity. So you yourself, in your mind, some of these entities are real. Every thought is a thought form. With your thoughts, anxiety, fear, joy, imagination, those create thought forms that are real. They become real in you. They become habits and addictions. Certain things that you do, they become living entities. So let's say you're addicted to drinking or smoking, that creates an entity that every time you do something, it's like, I gotta drink, or damn it, I gotta smoke. It's a living entity, not just for the bad, but for the good as well. So you create entities because you are a creator, because you were created in the image of a creator. So you create as well. So now let's see. Let's continue on here. Boom. So now Bing Bong takes them to a particular place, as they were trying to get back to headquarters, to the conscious mind. They go through a place called a place of abstract thoughts. So now, quickly, for those of you who don't know what abstract thoughts are, an abstract thought or abstract thoughts are basically when you think about something, but you don't think of it as an object or a person. So it's basically you thinking about the thought itself. Basically, like, let me give you an example. If you are thinking about beauty without even looking at something that is beautiful, it's you thinking about the concept of it. Hence that those worker beings inside of her were like, what abstract thought are we trying to process? And like, loneliness. So it's you thinking about the concept and not the physical, tangible part of it. It's the abstract thought. So now, when they go inside that whole tube of abstract thoughts, that's why you see them falling apart, because abstract thoughts represent things that are non-objective. They are non-objective. It's you thinking about something that it's looking at different colors or thinking about mathematics. It's basically thinking about a thought or thinking about how thoughts are. I think there's a song by Boo Boom. No, I'm saying Boo Boom a lot in this particular video. Who's this particular singer? Frank Ocean. What's that song called? Seji something. He's like dreaming about a thought that could dream about a thought that could dream about a dream, dreaming of a dream and a thought. I love that song so much. I love that song. So it's basically an abstract thought is thinking about something that is non-tangible, thinking about the thought itself. So that's what they were trying to process here, the abstract thought of loneliness. So we see Joy in this other scene where she basically has to understand that sadness is also a good thing, and that you can't always be happy. You need sadness. You need sadness because sadness allows there for joy to have happiness. So in order for joy to exist, sadness must be there, but joy could never understand that at first. So this is what we are seeing in these scenes that they are showing right now. And another thing we learn is that the decisions in the head, while all of this is happening, is that the decisions in the head at certain points should not be made by certain emotions. Because when Riley got this emotion of running away, what emotion was ruling? Anger was ruling. So she's like, no, I'm gonna run away. So anger was what gave her that idea. So this shows you that at certain points, certain emotions, you should not let your emotions, certain emotions, control your activities, right? So this is what is happening here. And simultaneously in the inner world, in the subconscious realm, we see how the dream production land happens. How the certain characters, using the memories of the day in terms of what happened in order to portray to the conscious mind and process, because dreams are what process things that happen during the day and then store them into the subconscious realm. And then they go to a very interesting place after that, which is called the subconscious. And an amazing thing that is said there is that it's said by Sadness, and it's said that the subconscious is where they store, or is where Riley's darkest fears are stored. So in order for you to heal as a person, you need to visit joyfully and also sometimes sad. You need to visit those aspects. You need to visit those subconscious parts, those parts that are locked away, those parts that you are scared to face in order for you to heal. You must go into the realm of the darkness. You must go into those parts. You know, there's imagination land, there's all these beautiful places, but sometimes you must go into the subconscious where the deepest things are stored. And then there is healing. That's what they are showing here. As you go, you overcome all of these things, because they're showing you silly things like broccoli and she's scared of clowns. But as a real person, really horrible things get stored there, especially if something's happened to you when you were a child. You know, you could have been bullied, you could have been neglected, you could have been molested, you could have been raped, you could have witnessed death, you could have, there's so much things that your subconscious, you could not even handle it. So to protect you from going insane, certain things get stored in the subconscious realm. So there's certain people who can help you access these realms via hypnosis, or via spiritual healing, or via taking certain psychedelic plants or medicinal plants to help you to face those parts of yourself and bring them to light. Because if you don't bring them to light, they will always be stored there, and certain behaviors in your external will be due to that, and you'll never be able to fully express or let go of certain things that were stored in those hidden places. So you need to go into those places and heal them. So now the next thing that we see here, anger gave her a whole idea of running away and all of that. And as she does that, she stole money, and then that broke that whole a core memory of trust and honesty. And so as that happened, Joy fell into that whole realm of the forgetting, the memories that really get forgotten. And that's where she learned that sadness plays a vital part in who Riley is. Joy, that emotion of joy, could never understand the role of sadness. Like, why is sadness here? You know, just making everything blue. But sometimes it needs to be blue. It needs to be cold, like how sadness was saying, I like it when it rains and then like the shoes get soggy. You know, like those different parts. Like, I like it when we're outside and you know. And to Joy, it sounds like, look, why do you like rain for the sad parts? You don't want us jumping in the puddles. You want us doing the sad things, you know. So sometimes it's important to feel those other aspects. So this is what Joy is learning here. One thing that happens in the movie is that it looks sad, but Bing Bong, that imaginary character, begins to fade away. And as Bing Bong fades away, it's like, it's fading. Oh, take Riley to the moon. What that's showing is that you will outgrow some things, and sometimes you outgrowing something is gonna give space for there to be born something out of that. Energy never dies. So energy is energy. Energy is not created nor destroyed. It just merely shifts. You know, so some things are shifting in order for there to be new imagination. So Bing Bong will be reborn as something new as Riley grows up. Some things must make way for there to be new things. That's what basically that means. These are the cycles of nature. The cycles of nature that happen outside also happen inside. So some things we must let go. So that's why we're seeing Riley in this. So after that, we see Riley just go into this numb state where she's basically on autopilot. This is where most people go into a depression. Most people, especially if they're older, they go, some even here, they get like suicidal thoughts. I'm ending it, which I'm gonna make a video about suicide and that whole phenomena behind that, and talk about what it is. So most people here would just go depressed, suicidal. They would cut themselves. They would abuse themselves. If others are not controlled, they would abuse others. They would let that the turmoil that is happening inside, they would express it outside. But because she's a kid, the best she could do is run away. But goodness me, can you imagine if this happens to someone who's old and physically strong and like or mature, things like that? Some of them would want to hurt others in order to make up for what it is that is happening inside. So this movie is very important to understand that this is not about a kid. This is not about Riley the kid. Even though they showed her mom and her dad in like a quick scene, this happens inside of you, grown person. It's still happening, no matter what age. So you need to go back to your inner child, you need to visit all aspects of yourself and be comfortable in feeling and do the shadow work. Sadness and Riley going into that whole subconscious, and that was shadow work. That's going inside and seeing all the things that happen inside your mind. That's why on the outside she was just shut out until she could cry about it, like, ooh, and then from there on new memories could be expressed. So that's what we were seeing when she was in that whole numb state, autopilot. And then when sadness got to express itself, sadness saved the day, because sadness allowed her to cry. And when you cry, what did we say? That's the emotion of the feminine. That's the physical. That's the water. So she released the water. The water came out. I miss my family. I miss where we used to live. And when you cry, you let go of the past. When you cry, you expand yourself. So being sad and being old and being confused and all the, it's not a bad thing. It's actually good. My queen was talking to me about this today, which is another synchronicity. She says that she told me that when she woke up, she was hearing voices, in her dreams. And then also when she woke up, and one of the voices were like confusion. She's like, her higher self told her that confusion is actually a good thing. Because when we are confused, it actually means that we are aware that something is actually happening, instead of you just not being aware that, nothing is, So when she told me that, I was like, this is crazy, boo. Because I'm decoding a movie about Inside Out. And what you were saying reflects what it is that I'm decoding here. So it's amazing. So that confusion, Riley was going through confusion, which to your higher self is good, because it means, hey, you are growing, you are shedding the old skin. And sometimes for there to be something new, there will be friction with what the old is. And that's what sadness and that whole conflict that was happening in this movie, that's what we were seeing here. So sadness saves the day. And then Riley gets to understand that certain emotions need to intermingle. You need to feel all sides. You can't always just be happy. It's impossible. You're a human being in a fleshly body. You will not always be happy. So now, after she realizes that, what happens? She creates new memories. She begins to create new core memories for herself. She begins to create new core memories of the same things that existed, but in a different state. New memories of family that are intermingled with sadness and joy and with anxiety, but they are core memories, and those make her stronger. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So this movie is very powerful. I'm like, I can never keep these things under 15 minutes because it would be very it wouldn't do you justice. It wouldn't do, but I'm also not trying to keep it very long. So I think I did good with time. Obviously there's more, and the little parts that you feel that I left out, that's for you to figure out, like, hey, this is this, because I'm not gonna give you all the juices. Some parts you must be like, hey, you know, like the parts where she's moving, and then there's the cloud, she's in the imagination field, and then some of that you gotta go watch the movie and be like, hey, and then compare that to your life, because it's all your life. All these things are the same things. These characters that you see in her mind, those are the characters in the Bible. Remember in my old videos when I speak about the disciples, that they represent different aspects of our minds, the disciples, the disciplines, the parts of ourselves that we have to discipline. This is that. All of these things are saying the same thing. All of these things are saying the same. All of these things are saying the same thing. Saying the same thing. And what they are saying is that you are a very powerful entity, but now let me tell you something profound. You are beyond joy, sadness, greed, or all of these emotions. You are beyond that. You know what you are? You are something that they did not even show in the movie. You are you know who you are in this movie. You are the one watching the movie. You are the observer. You are the one observing yourself see and experience things. You are the observer. So you go through emotions, sadness, but what you need to understand, and it's not wrong to feel sad and happy, but when you feel happy or sad, always remember that you are the one observing yourself being happy or sad. Let me ask you this before I end the video. When you are having a dream, are you the one in the dream experiencing things, or are you the one watching the dream or watching yourself experience the things in the dream? Uban, who? Are you the one running away from something chasing you in the dream or having fun in the dream, or are you the one who sees yourself do that in the dream? Who are you? Because when you're going to tell me the next day and you're going to be like, yo, I had this dream where I was. So were you the one seeing you do that where I was, or were you the one doing that I was doing this? It's two things. Which one are you? Are you the one in the dream or the one looking at the dream? It's all in the mind. It's all mental. That's Inside Out, family. Peace, love, and light. Add your comments. I'd love to hear your opinions, your own additions to what this movie was about. You know, if you've watched it before, watch it again, you know, with this new information, and then let's share together. And then if you haven't watched it, watch it now. You know, I don't know if you want to watch it after you watch this, or you want to watch it and then watch this, but whatever you do, if you can, it's not a must, but just add the comments, you know, like into the comments. I just want you to understand that you are a supreme being. You're a supreme entity. Peace, much love and light to you all, family.